Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I'm Kelly Stewart, joined by Ralph Michaels and Brian Leonard. Let's talk about a really exciting matchup on Saturday. By the way, this is Wednesday. We're filming early. We do not have a line, but the Kansas Jayhawks 5-point dogs to the Kentucky Wildcats at Rupp Arena. The Jayhawks have been playing not great basketball as of late. We saw them fail to win a game actually even at all, let alone cover at West Virginia. Then they didn't cover against Iowa State. This is a team that has not been great. So I think maybe it might be time to buy on them here against the Kentucky Wildcats team who's playing a lot better. You guys look at each other like you're crazy. Ralph, I'll start with you.
I'll take it. Well, you know, Azubuike's a big loss. You know, you lose a 7-footer who averages 14 points, and it's tougher to run the team. And the important thing is you got to remember, Dotson, their freshman point guard, is a freshman. They've only played 3 games away from home. They've lost 2 of them, and then they beat Baylor by a few points, didn't cover. So this is still a team that's only played 4 true road games. So now they go into Rupp playing a team that is even less experienced. Kentucky plays 3 freshmen. You know, you have Hagan, Hero, and Johnson, point guard, shooting guard, small forward, all freshmen. You have Reed Travis, the transfer from Stanford, a first-year player, and then a sophomore power forward. They're number 351 in terms of experience out of the 354 teams in college basketball, but they're at home. You know, unique situation where these 2 blue bloods have played for 3, this is their 4th straight game. Kansas has won each of those first 3 years. All of them were played now. There were no March Madness games. They were all regularly scheduled games. But I look at it with Kansas on the road, playing a road game, struggling, like you said, even the Iowa State game, playing a poor West Virginia team. I mean, West Virginia hadn't been beating anyone, so for them to come back and win by 1, you know, I make the line 6, and I would need to lay 4 or less with Kentucky to back them and feel comfortable doing it. And if for some reason, I can't imagine Kansas ever getting a touchdown or more in basketball, not in football. But if they were, you know, if they were getting that 8 or more, I would look to play them just because, you know, this is one of those rare non-conference January road games that teams don't prep for like they have on occasion. Again, unique where they've played for a 4th straight year, though.
They're not going to see 8 or more in this game. I made it 3.5. I don't know if mine's any better than yours, but I do want to point out when you said there wasn't a line, the 5 you were pointing to was Ken Palm's number.
Correct. I'm sorry. Yeah, the look-ahead line I used.
And Ken Palm's numbers are going to be within one of the openers. I mean, they really are. I mean, Vegas looks at those numbers as
which is why it's great for videos that we're doing earlier in the week, because then I can give somebody a look-ahead line or something, and then you guys can also talk about your power ratings and base on what, like you said, would be a play on or a play against number.
Yep. So I make it Kentucky 3.5 here. I talked earlier about in the other video about Georgia Tech taking some bad shots from a range where you don't want to be shooting. The Wildcats shoot 32.8% of their shots from long 2-pointers. That part of that is you mentioned how young they are. They're just trying to get those shots up, and they're not really moving the ball enough to get underneath in the paint or shooting the quality 3-pointers. And I think that's a problem they have. As the season goes on, you would expect that to go down, and we'll have to see. But you got a Kansas team. 4 players, the top 4 players play 80% of their conference minutes. So you could get Kansas in trouble. You got a chance to beat up on them and get beat up on the guys that don't play very often. And in order to beat Kansas, you have to be able to shoot the 3-pointers. Kansas so far this year is allowing 42.3% of their shots from downtown. So if you're hitting 3-pointers, you can beat the Jayhawks. And this is one of the things I want to point out, because we always see teams like a Kansas each and every year going into the tournament, and they get knocked out of the tournament by a nobody. It's because they allow so many 3-pointers that the other team gets hot, they're going to beat them. I would much rather have a team that doesn't give up a lot of shots from 3-point range, regardless if they make them or not. They're really tough on defending the 3. Those are the kind of teams that don't get knocked off. They don't get upset by smaller teams, lesser-known teams. And Kansas, that's the problem they have. They need to really cut down on that and let the other teams take the ball inside, which is tough to do because that's Kansas's bread and butter is underneath.
Well, you know, the difference is, you talked about your being a Big 12 fan in another video. they're so used to beating each other up on the defensive side. I mean, that team is just has the best defensive teams in the country. You know, the Texases, the Texas Techs, the TCUs, the K-States, the West Virginia down this year. Without the guard play, they can't do the same press. But they're just so used to beating each other up defensively that they don't have those fresh legs and be able to shoot those threes and get in the running game with a faster tempo team in that non-conference setting.
Yeah. All right. So bottom line, Ralph, if it is above 7, you'd play on Kansas, but
I made my line 6.
6?
So 6 is my number, and I agree with Brian talking in another video. You know, a 2-point variance is where I'll start looking at it. It's not an automatic play that if it's 2 points, I'll do it, because it depends on the situations and looking what's happened. But 6 is my number, and Brian, yours is 3.5?
Mine's 3.5, so I can get the 6 that you think the number is. If I can get that, I'll probably be taking the points.
All right, great stuff from both guys here. Make sure you head over to WagerTalk TV on YouTube and check out all of our other videos.